Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Leverett Ball Show. And on this episode, I am joined by Juan Pablo Galavis. And fans of The Bachelor, you likely remember this guy. He was the Bachelor on season 18 of the show in 2014. And Juan Pablo is also a former professional soccer player and currently works promoting both musicians and athletes with red wine. But Juan Pablo, obviously excited to have you here. I'm sure all of our listeners who are into reality TV are pumped to hear you on the show. But how are you today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. Obviously, like you said, it's been many years since I've done the show, so some people knows me for that, and well, it's been a long journey with sports and music. Actually, I did it before the show, so yeah, it's been a while, and obviously, no, for me, it's great to be on your podcast.
Absolutely, absolutely. And obviously, I mentioned your time as the Bachelor on season 18 of the show in 2014. Definitely want to talk to you about that and what you're up to now, but let's actually backpedal a little bit. Like I mentioned, you're a professional athlete. You played professional soccer, and you played professionally in Venezuela in Primera Division Venezolana. For anyone not familiar, I'll need to work on my lingo a little bit, but for anyone not
Don't worry about
familiar,
it. Don't worry about it. So
um,
no.
but yeah,
Uh-huh.
for anyone not familiar, that's the highest level of pro soccer in Venezuela. You played on four teams in that league, and then you also played in the U.S. For Miami FC.
Correct.
I mean, what are your main memories from your time as a pro athlete?
Well, obviously, it's funny because I went to school in New York before going back to Venezuela to play soccer. I grew up in Barquisimeto, a little town in Venezuela. Um, born in Ithaca, New York, went back to when I was two, then grew up when I was 16. I graduated and I went to college in Rochester, New York, Roberts Wesleyan College, little school. Didn't know much about leagues, didn't know much about NCAA, NAIA, or any of that. Went there for a week. It was my first trip. Liked the team. We had four Jamaicans, two Trinidadians, an English guy. We had a Canadian, a guy from St. Croix. It was a very big mix of players in college. So after that, I would play college, and then I'll play PDL, which it was USL League Two nowadays. It was like I would play in the summer. We would go to Salem, Oregon. I have some family. I have a little family, host family there, the Smetanas. So it was great. I spent 3 years there. Then I graduated and I went for trial with Caracas FC on spring break. Then they like it, and I went back once I graduated, I went back and joined the team. So first I got to Venezuela, I played for Caracas FC. I got to their second team. They have like a second division team. I played with them, then I played in Caracas. Then they loaned me to a different club, Unión Deportivo Marítimo, which it was like a big name back in the day, but they disappeared. It happens a lot in Venezuela. Clubs will have big names disappear, and then somebody brings them back. Okay, and obviously because of the political situation and all of that, the league is not very organized. So clubs struggle a lot. And then bump around a couple of clubs, didn't get paid in a couple of clubs, so I had to like move on. And that's one of some of my experiences. Like I have four coaches in a couple of clubs a year, so it was a little messy. Now it's getting a little better. Still a little politically, the teams, some of the teams or whatever. But it was a good experience at the end of the day. You always learn from those things. And the best thing that happens now to me is that because I've learned all of those things as a FIFA agent, I can use that to my advantage. Okay. I know who are the clubs, I know who are the persons that run the club. I know if my goal for players is to make sure that they get the right treatment, which we didn't get, because I'm not gonna say I didn't get, we didn't get. So After playing there, I got an opportunity to come to Miami FC. Came here for trial, 3 days. Zinho was the coach, and Victor Pastora, who works at Inter Miami now, he was the assistant coach. They like it, and I came and I played 1 year. And I retire. I stopped playing 1 year because I decided to have my daughter. Be at she was born in February, so it was like preseason time. And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna find a club. I'll stay with my daughter. And I never came back, and I got into music there. So that's like a little, resume of what happened with my soccer career. Okay, did music many years, did something with the Baseball Hall of Fame in Venezuela. Okay, I was in charge of the Venezuelan Hall of Fame for 3 years, and well, I always liked sports and music.
Well, it sounds like you're a man of many talents with the sports and the music. I mean, what you talked about also with your experience playing professional soccer is a little bit relatable because, like, a lot of people in my line of work in broadcasting, when they first try to get into the industry, it's tough. And, like, when I did, like, local TV channels before I was on ESPN, it was very dysfunctional. There was a lot of turnover. Sometimes they forget to pay you. And there were people when I worked in local TV who stepped away because they had kids and they wanted to spend more time with their kids. So the whole lifestyle that you described is actually very relatable. But obviously, you made that transition, from soccer to music, and you became a father. But then, fast forwarding a little bit, so you were, like I mentioned, you were the Bachelor. Prior to that, you were a contestant on the Bachelorette. And when you were doing The Bachelorette, did you think it was a possibility that you would eventually be The Bachelor, or did that kind of come out of nowhere?
Um, well, it's funny because a friend of mine was the one to sign me up. I had no idea what was going on. Angie Tarantino, she was like, Juan, you should do this show. I was like, okay, well, send whatever you want. So she sent a bunch of stuff. And obviously the profile fit really well with the company at the time. They had some issues with some I recall the ABC had some issues with, not having Latinos or black people or all these things, diversity on the show. So I was a good fit, a father, soccer player, not playing anymore. So I went there, and you always have a in your mind that you could be the next guy. Why not? But you don't go with, well, I'm gonna do all these things to make sure that I'm the guy. And it was funny because when I was on the Bachelorette, I never got picked on a one-on-one date. A lot of things happens, and when I saw the show live, barely made, I was barely showed on the show. So it was something that happens when I got sent home that I think everybody exploded because what they show on the Bachelorette of me was good, and they thought it was good TV, and they called me next day. It was like, okay, we want to have you as the Bachelor, and like I said, it was for them, it was a perfect fit. First Latino, doesn't look Latino, was born in America. Um, eh, People makes fun of. So my cousin Rodolfo makes fun of me because he always tells the story that Jimmy Fallon was like, so now ABC decide to have the first Latino bachelor. Can you see Juan Pablo? He showed pictures like that's the whitest guy I've ever seen. So it was kind of funny, but it was a good experience. At the end of the day, all those the things that happened in my life made me understand the business, the entertainment business, sports business, which is my job nowadays. And for me, not to have somebody back then to help me out when I was playing soccer and I was, not getting paid and I was at home and I was, not on the let's say on the call ups for a game, things like that. It makes me understand better and help the guys now that I work with.
No question about it. And you mentioned also, I mean, you were the first person of an ethnic minority to be chosen as a bachelor after they'd already done 17 seasons of the show. And to any degree, were you trying to be a trailblazer for people of Latino background who want to go on reality shows in the United States?
It was hard because when you are from a different culture, you think differently. And producers are Americans, and the owner of the show is American, and the TV station is American. So they feel like you have to do certain things a certain way, and it wasn't that way. And that's why it was kind of rough on the recording, on the editing, on the promo they did. But at the end of the day, it's a show, And if I would have added the show, it would have been great because I would have. A lot of people in America would understand. Just think about this: 10 years ago, they would understand how Latinos, some of the people that watch the show, because there's a lot of people that watches the show, will understand how Latinos think. We might not have the same issues that we have nowadays because, hey, I understand how these guys.
Well, and that's actually something some people have told me. I've had some people on this podcast who've done different reality shows, and they've told me that the edit on reality shows isn't always accurate. I had a guy on this podcast who was on the show Love is Blind, and he said he felt completely misrepresented,
Hmm.
by the show. And I mean, I guess what are some of the biggest misconceptions that maybe people have about it for people who've never been on a reality show? What are the biggest misconceptions that people might have about the whole experience?
Well, you have to understand that you sign a contract where they can do whatever they want with the videos. Okay. So if I do an interview, the confession areas or whatever, that it's like this. Yeah, well, I like this girl, blah 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 blah. So when you are in that situation and you're talking about somebody, it happened to me on the show. I recall that I will do for People Magazine. I will do every Monday. I will do a writing, and they will post it on Tuesday regarding the episode on Monday. And it was like the second week, and I say something like, "Well, when I see Renee, okay, I see, or I was talking about Renee. I don't know if I say when I see Renee, well, Renee's great. She's a great. When I see her on the living room, it feels like me because she has a son. I had a daughter. I come into the living room and all the girls are like, while Renee stand there. So I saw myself and I was like, oh, that's like me on the other show. And they put it on another girl. So instead of being Renee, I was talking about Claire. And they put that insert into that conversation with me talking about Claire. So I was like, no, I didn't say that about Claire. I said that about Renee. You know what I mean? So they can cut a lot of stuff and make it look because you talk. If I talk about you and then keep talking and then they insert something about other girl, you will not know if it's you or is another girl.
Definitely, definitely. Well, and also, when you're on a show like The Bachelor, there are some parts of the experience that are very positive, but everyone who's on that show faces public scrutiny and hate and criticism from random people. And there were some fans of the show who criticized you for the fact that you didn't propose to anyone on the show. And I mean, we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier when we were talking about the way that the show was edited, but do you feel as though a lot of the fans of the show who criticize the fact that you didn't propose, do you feel as though they misunderstood you in a lot of ways?
Uh, I will say it might not be misunderstood. It may be that they're always waiting for somebody to propose. It's just like, oh man, this guy didn't do it, you know. But but you have to go deeper. Why he didn't do it? Okay. So if you watch the show, if you watch the interview or the family visit that I had with Nikki, his dad was very clear to me and very respectful, and I'm a dad. He said to me, um, I'll have to check 100% what the words were, but something on the lines of, if you're going to propose to my daughter, it's because you're 100% sure you're going to marry her. And I said, well, in my head was like, I'm in this situation. I have to visit three other families. I'm not 100%. I just know, I just met your girl. I just met your daughter. And when you see that you spend so little time with the person, it's impossible you fall in love. You might like her a lot, but you're not gonna fall in love and get married with somebody that you met 30 hours, 40 hours, you know? Obviously, when you propose, then you have outside the world, you do your thing and then you get to know the person well. But I've never proposed before either. So my first proposal in my life, having a daughter, it wasn't gonna be on a show because you have to please somebody on the show. It was just more, that's what I said. If I would have edited and they would have showed that explanation, it would have been like, oh, I get it now. You don't People watches the show and they think that you spend so much time with the person, and that's the misconception about these kind of shows. Oh my gosh, no, you don't know that person. You don't know. It's as simple as you don't know if he eats with the forks and knives the way you want him or not, because you don't eat with him. You kind of have a bite or something, but you don't know if she chew, if she snores, if I snore, if it's so many things. If she can handle me being warm in bed, like I don't know. Oh, she gets too cold and I like it too. We don't know. It's
Yeah.
funny. It's
The-
interesting. It's a very interesting dynamic of a show that when you live it, then you understand so many things than when you watch it.
Yeah, yeah, I think you made a good point there also. I mean, as far as, I guess maybe some fans of the show, they almost demand that someone proposes every single season. And
100%.
I think that goes beyond just reality shows. It's also to a degree a societal issue where people get judged for being single, and some people think they have a certain age and a certain deadline they have to propose by. And so I mean, I know people who have proposed to the wrong person because they felt like they were too old to still be single. So that's not just on shows, but it's a societal issue and maybe a stigma against being unmarried when you haven't met the right person.
Correct.
Um, so yeah, and I mean, so I think your explanation is very understandable, and maybe like you said, with the way the show is edited, maybe you didn't get to portray your entire message that you would have liked to. But I want to talk about also you work with Red Wine and you work with musicians and athletes. But one other reality TV question. So your daughter Camilla also did some reality TV. She was on American Idol. And what was that like? You've already been on reality TV yourself, but then to see your daughter have the reality TV experience, what was that? What was that like? Watching from the sidelines.
So it's funny because I have a good relationship with the person at ABC, one of the main guys. And we had a conversation. How you doing? Oh, your girl, how's she doing? Camila, is she into sports? And I said, no, no, she's not in sports. She likes to sing. Oh, she recorded? Yeah, she recorded a couple of demos or whatever, and I sent him one. He was like, she's gotta go on American Idol, man. And I said, well, she's too little. She's 13 at the time. Well, I'll remind you next year. She do the casting and all of that. And a year later, she actually did the casting. She was 14. They recorded like November of 2023, I believe. And he aired March 2024, February 2024. So she barely made it because you had to be 15, and she turned 15 2 days before the show started on air. So she barely made it. It was an interesting experience because obviously her mom and I went to the show on the first audition, okay, with Katy Perry and all those guys. And we were outside, she went up and then she runs back, Papi, they want to meet you, whatever. Obviously you saw the video when she asked him about the music or whatever. So I went there and it was great. Obviously she's too young. She has not too many lessons. She's done it all by herself, so she's got a lot to grow. And then on the second round, which it was like 100 people, and they cut until for 80 people. They were like 24 afterwards. She went with her mom, and for me, it was very stressful because I would call her and she was like, "Papa, I'm so stressed." She was listening to everybody as well. Everybody was on the stands and they will call their name and she will not know when they were gonna call her. and for a 14-year-old girl, it was like very stressful. And she called me crying afterward. She said, Papa, I did horrible, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, and I asked her mom, and no, she did okay. So when I saw the clip, the clip was great. Her voice broke a little, which is okay. And the words that Lionel Richie said to her, to me, were gratifying, because at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, you had this experience. You wanted this experience. You lived it. You don't have to live it anymore, if you don't want. So she wants to be on the music industry. She's 16 now. We recorded many songs. I took him twice to Medellin because I live between Medellin and Miami. I have some artists there, and I put him to write with them. So I'm getting to her involved into writing, feeling, and seeing what she wants to do, or what kind of songs she wants to do. She's a very fan of Ariana Grande, Tek McRae. Those are the two. We're gonna go to Houston to watch her on November 1st. So I support her as much as I can. I don't want to push it. Many people, because I'm in the industry, were like, "Oh, why do you release songs or whatever?" I wanted to have a childhood. She's in 11th grade. Once you graduate, we can do anything. So I'm preparing her the best way I can, I think, um, from now to when she turns 18, which will be February 2027. Okay. So we will record songs now, demos, and then she will figure out. But it was a great experience for me and for her to understand that this is not easy, and you're going to be criticized and they're going to write to you, they're going to bully you and all of these things. So,
Yeah, no, you're right. And I mean, you went through that experience as an
yeah.
adult. I mean, but she went through that, like you said, at the age of 14 turning 15. So that must have been even harder. But it sounds like she handled it well. But, also as far as your work with Red Wine, I mentioned, you represent musicians and athletes. I mean, who are some of the, clients you have that you're most excited about?
So why red wine management started? Okay, I'm going to tell you. Well, red wine, is how we call the Venezuelan soccer team, La Vino Tinto. They have the maroon shirt. They have the red wine kind of shirt. So when we grew up, La Vino Tinto means red, the red wine. Okay, and I represented an artist named Danny Ocean that I developed from zero all the way to he became a big Latin global star. Okay, and our goal was to, or my goal in that was to, okay, let's develop this guy, Danny Ocean. We're gonna put him the name. We put him in English. I wanted him to be an American artist, like an Anglo artist, because he's really good at English. And when you realize all the Spanish artists that have done the crossover, there are not too many. You know, I can name them for you, and you will get, okay, I know. Ricky Martin, Mark
Definitely.
Anthony, Shakira, and you might know Enrique Iglesias. Those four guys are the ones that have done the crossover. We have Yellow, she started American. We have Pitbull, she started American. And Becky G, she started American as well. But my goal was to have Danny be an artist that, like Rihanna, she's not from America, she's from Barbados. But Americans took her as a big global Anglo artist. Okay, things didn't go my way because of the Spanish song, obviously, and but we decided to do many things. Red Wine Management, I created it with the will of having these Venezuelan artists and try to help them develop. Okay, by 2020, before pandemia, a good friend of mine, his son was playing in Belgium second division, and he asked me for help. So I went with him, Mario Caputo. His name is Abel Caputo, the player. So I went with him to Belgium, talked to the coach, figure out what was going on. Pandemic hit, the team disappeared because there were some financial problems. It was a mess. Okay. I thought we came to Miami. My brother-in-law, he's a coach. We put him in a USL, in a UPSL club, okay, which is another league in America that they're like for for students, for college players, ex-pro players or whatever. Put him in that team, got him recovered, play sometimes. And by January, February of 2021, I put him in Inter Miami, second team. Okay. So they saw him, they were trained. He signed with Inter Miami, 2 years there with the second team. He was the captain. And then we start moving to different clubs because with Leo Messi coming to the club, there were some changes. So, and a club called us, Tampa Bay called us at the time. And we're like, okay, let's just move on. Okay. So obviously, that was my opening door into sports agency. I that while that was happening in before pandemia, couple of months before that, a Ansu Fati's agent, when he was 15, he was an Italian guy, okay, in Barcelona, asked me for Venezuelan player. Do you know Luis Guerra? Like, I haven't been in soccer since 2008 until 2020. I forgot about that Venezuelan soccer. I was just watching Barcelona, Champions League, or any of that. So it caught my attention. I said, why this guy who's Ansu Fati's agent is asking me about Venezuelan player? Call the agent. Well, obviously, I got a couple of friends. Friend knew the other friend. The agent play against me. And he said, no, we already sold him to Chile. And we took a guy to Lithuania. So it was the guy in Miami, the guy in Lithuania, and then we start getting other players. So I said to Daniel Mendez at the time, I said, why don't we partner up? I'm in charge of the United States and trying to bring the players here, and you do the recruiting, and we do the things in Venezuela. So we start doing that, and after a couple of months, his way of working it was different than mine. I'm more American in that sense, and we took different players, and then we were like apart, but we're friends now, but we didn't work together anymore. So in my mind is, how can I help Venezuelan players make it to the league, the MLS, to MLS Next Pro? I think those are the MLS Next Pro is the right spot for them. Happened with David Martinez that came to. I spoke to his dad that plays in LAFC, and when he was 15, I told him, listen, the American League is good for you guys because he will come here, he will develop better, he will have all the team will play him. He's gonna be 18, and not only that, the switch from Venezuela to Europe is 6 hours. You don't know if you go to Spain, you're fine. But if you go to a different country, you don't know the language. There's so many things that go around.
Well, and that's really cool. You've been able to get back involved in soccer again after, like I mentioned, reality TV, music, all the stuff you did since you stopped playing professionally. And, I've done some broadcasting on ESPN for college soccer for University of Michigan and a couple other schools. And some of the players tune into this podcast a little bit. And, for any soccer players who might be interested in having you represent them, how can they go about getting in touch with you and potentially signing up for your services?
Well, I read all my Instagrams all the time. I have the Red Wine Sports, the agency. They can write there. I have some people that work with me. We're always looking, for the right fit. Obviously, in this type of job, I feel sometimes bad for some of the kids. I cannot represent everybody, but I will give them as much advice as I can, because I like to do it all by myself at the moment. So because I want to treat the players the way they wanted to get treated, make sure that everything they understand everything. To be honest with you, because at the end of the day, we're in a situation, or we're in a world where social media and why this guy's playing and I'm not, why he's called, why. Well, I got a parent this morning. It was like they call a goalkeeper. Venezuela plays on Friday here, and they call a goalkeeper 2008 that is in Orlando. They call him to train with the national team, and his kid is 2008 as well. He's the captain of the Puerto Rican national team. And I got a message. I want my kid to be why he got called. I want my kid to be on the Venezuela. I say, hey, he's in the right spot. He's with the Puerto Rican national team because his mom is Puerto Rican. He was on the qualification for the World Cup U17 and he was the captain. He is in Atlanta United. He scored 2 goals this weekend. He's in the right spot. He's fine. He's fine. So parents get desperate nowadays because other kids are getting called, and I tell them, listen, they're playing. It, they're doing their job. Our job is to make sure they're okay. So basically that's how I see it. So any advice I can give to anybody, I'm super open.
Before we wrap things up, for anyone listening, who's a fan of you from The Bachelor, from your music career, your time in soccer, what are your social media handles where they could follow you? And also, do you have any public appearances coming up?
So social media at Juan Pablo Galavis. My name, middle name just PA, and my last name Galavis. Um, Appearances now, I don't do them anymore. I used to do them back in the day when I was, younger. Uh, but uh, but I'm going to I'm between like I said, between Miami and Medellin. I'm going to Medellin for a big project that I have with Chune, an artist that I represent, and I represent a couple of producers that work with them, Chune, Chochi, Fendayer. We're doing a song a week. We're number 49 for a year. We're gonna do it. It's a big project. I put together 13 guys, Chune, singing 4 songs with each one of them. Okay. Then it happened that number 6 was not helping, so I had to get him out and put 3 other guys. Instead of doing 4 songs with number 6, we decided to do 1 song with number 6, then we picked 3 other guys to do a song. So it's 13 EPs. Okay. An EP is, a short little album of 4 songs. We're doing that. So I'm gonna be in Medellin 12th to the 17th, then I'll come back here to Miami. And in November, I'm going to the World Cup, Qatar, the U17, because I have a player there. So,
Wow.
Qatar, if somebody wants to go to Qatar, let me know.
Awesome, awesome. Well, it sounds like you're quite a busy guy these days. But Juan Pablo, it's been great having you on the show. And yeah, once again, everyone, that was Juan Pablo Galavis. He's worn a lot of hats, done a lot of different really cool things. But once again, you've been tuning in to the Leverett Ball Show. Thanks a lot.